What's up, Black World? If you've been paying attention to the news lately, it's been a sad turn of events going on in terms of, police brutality, police murders, and police killings. Now, my page is usually dedicated for book reviews and things like that, but it's hard for me to ignore the turn of events. It's hard for me to ignore the events that are going on right in front of my face, and I think that it's only right if we build a commentary on the black people. I'm always gonna have people in the comments who want to share their 2 cents, and I let that be because I want you to see the type of comments that we get from having these conversations. But this conversation is for us, to be had. And so we're still reeling from George Floyd and what happened to him. Watching him being murdered on live TV was difficult for a lot of us. I don't know anybody who could watch that and not feel some type of trauma and turmoil. Here we are now again. Brother Jacob shot 7 times in the back. Police said he was leaning into his car, and they found a knife. What I really want to highlight to is the 17-year-old kid who had a long gun and killed 2 people at his protest. The reports are varied, but apparently he was shooting at somebody else, and when the protester tried to chase him down and got a hold of him, there's video footage of him shooting them too. Okay, I feel like black people are not a monolith. We may not all feel the same way, but a lot of times we kind of cringe because we know how these 2 cases are going to be treated. We know that there's going to be one's going to be handled with gloves and one's going to be handled with a broom, if you know what I'm saying. I have so many questions. One, if we look at the protest, there was a 17-year-old with an AR-15 rifle at the protest. So from my understanding, in that state, you have to be 18 years old to have a long gun. So he's underage with a firearm. That's the first thing I want to address. He kills 2 people who were trying to stop him because he shot at somebody else. So I'm curious to see where this goes. Now, the 17-year-old is currently charged with first-degree murder. Now, they quickly charged him because I think, and this is my hypothesis, this is all opinion, by the way. This is all opinion, so if you don't share the opinion, you can feel free to turn the video. But what I think is happening is that they wanted to quickly charge him to keep this thing from steamrolling. I mean, the protests for George Floyd are still underway, even though they're not talked about in the news as much. People are still protesting for this brother. Now, they charged this child because, technically he's a child. Even though if it was one of us that did that, if it was one of us that shot, 2 people with an AR-15, that would be a man. So what I think is going to happen is, they're going to knock it down to something like manslaughter, or they're going to knock it down to something like, aggravated assault or something with a deadly weapon, and he might end up getting a couple years, maybe YA, something like that. But we're gonna stay tuned for it. But it's just, I'm tired with y'all. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm tired with y'all. Like, I try my hardest not to continually watch the news because the news, they cut things and they make things drama because they want the eyes on it, and they don't really care. They don't care about the trauma that causes. That's a double-edged sword. But at the same time, we are getting murdered in the street, cold-blooded. We are getting cold-bloodedly murdered in the street, and there's still discrepancies going on in America. And police brutality is just the tip of it. It's economic, it's social, it's psychological, it's in the medical field. If you look at it all the way across the board, even with this COVID, we've been impacted by COVID the worst. Our children are still being impacted by COVID through our education system. Like here in California where I live, our children are still not allowed to go to school. I live in one of the 23 affected counties, and I feel that a lot of black and brown and underprivileged kids are going to suffer more than the kids who can afford a tutor, the kids whose parents can afford a tutor or who can afford private education. And I'm sorry if I'm going off on a tangent right now, but it's just, I don't comment on these things often. Maybe that should change. But it's just so much that's going on with all of this. You know, we have this presidential election coming up, and I mean, honestly, it's the lesser of two evils right now for us, which it usually is. Black people always have to seem to make a decision between the lesser of two evils, and we want to vote for Biden because we want to get Trump out of office, you know, and I understand that. I you know, I'm not on the Trump train by any means, but at the same time, you know, Biden doesn't really have to provide blacks with tangibles at this point. It's just, you know, do you vote for, if you don't vote for Biden, you're voting for Trump. It's a tough situation all the way around, because I don't think that, you know, any of these parties, Democrat or Republican Party, is going to serve black people's community, our community, moving forward. That's just my personal opinion. So I mean, this is a tough conversation in general. It's one to be had, though. If I want you guys to share what you guys feel about the situation, everything, the COVID, the racial killings that are highlighted. And I'm not saying the racial killings haven't been going on, because, you know, if you look at the numbers, you know, black people are killed at a higher rate when they come in contact with the police. That's out there. That's fact, you know. So I'm not here to argue that. I just want y'all to weigh in. I'm trying to put a pulse on kind of this stuff. Like I said, I've been quarantined just like y'all. I haven't really been on social media like that because of all the foolishness that's going on. I've been in the books, like where I'm always at. School just started for me, so I'm gonna be doing that. But I want to put my pulse on my my followers and see how do y'all feel. I mean, do you feel like these police this recent shooting was justified? Do you feel like it's not justified? What do you feel about the shooting at the protest? How do you feel like it's going to be handled, man? So go ahead and drop a comment, and, you know, I'll leave it there at that. Peace.